Up as a kid, yeah. All a nigga wanna have was a Burberry scarf and $3 in my pocket. Instead I got beat with a switch, but I don't give a fuck, but it's on my body. Scars all up on me, but I run around from everybody. Life lesson learned, I better learn from this bitch, nobody. She pushed me around, she didn't give no motherfucks about it. She broke my heart 3 times, but I ain't getting...
The Philadelphia Eagles are going to be at home facing off against the Los Angeles Rams. Now, the Rams are coming off of a controversial victory against the Dallas Cowboys last week on Sunday Night Football, in a game that they won 20-17. And the Philadelphia Eagles are coming off of a really surprising upset defeat against the Washington Football Team, which they lost 27-17. Now, if you are an Eagles fan, you're hoping that Miles Sanders plays in this game, because the Philadelphia Eagles really needed Miles Sanders last week when they lost to Washington. And I told a lot of people going into that game that if Philadelphia wasn't able to run the football, I feel like they had a good chance of losing that game. And the reason being is because Philadelphia's offensive line isn't great. They have several guys who are out due to injuries. And when you're facing the Washington Football Team defensive line, that debatably is either the number 1 or the second best defensive line in the NFL, if you're not able to be balanced on offense, your offensive line is going to struggle. And it was evident last week because they gave up 8 sacks. Now, if you are an Eagles fan, I don't think you have to be all that concerned about the offensive line play for the majority of the season. Because, listen, I don't think this offensive line is going to be bad to the point it's constantly giving up 5, 6 sacks every single week, and Carson Wentz is going to be running for his life. Like, I don't think the offense for Philadelphia is going to get to that point. You got to understand something. If you're an Eagles fan, you had a banged-up offensive line going against probably one of the best defensive lines in the NFL in Washington. And I was expecting Washington's defensive line to have a major impact on that game. Now, was I expecting them to have 8 sacks? No. But I did feel they was going to have a pretty good time getting pressure on Carson Wentz. And if you're Philadelphia, if you want to win this game versus the Rams, you know you got to have some kind of a running game. Because that Los Angeles Rams defensive line last week against Dallas, in my opinion, was really impressive, despite the fact that they didn't get a lot of sacks on Dak Prescott, just because of how good the Dallas Cowboys offensive line is. But even then, although they didn't have a lot of sacks, they still were getting a good amount of consistent pressure on Dak Prescott. So, as an Eagles fan, I don't think this offensive line is going to be that bad. It's not going to be great, but I don't think it's going to be terrible. I mean, last week, you were facing a really good defensive line in Washington. And, you know, when you're facing a team like Washington that has that kind of talent up front, having the offensive line that isn't fully healthy is going to cause a lot of issues. Because when you're facing a team with that kind of talent on their defensive line, you got to be fully healthy. So in this game, Miles Sanders needs to come back. And if he doesn't come back, then their chance of winning this game are going to be really going down the ropes. And Carson Wentz, he kind of fizzled out in this game. Like, Philadelphia's offense started out hot last week, and then they had a couple of turnovers which really kind of dictate the outcome of the game. So if you're Philadelphia, you can't lose the game yourself. And that's one of the biggest things when it comes to winning games in the NFL. You can't win a lot of games if you turn the football over like Philadelphia did. I feel like Philadelphia shot themselves in the foot by all of the costly turnovers they had in that game. Now, let's talk about the LA Rams. The LA Rams offensive line was really good last week. I mean, this offensive line looks like it has bounced back to the form that it was the year they went to the Super Bowl a couple of years back in 2018. And I mean, they really held their own against a really good Dallas Cowboys defensive line with DeMarcus Lawrence and Everson Griffin. So you're going into this game against the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line that is pretty okay, pretty decent. And I mean, look, the way they were able to run the football with the 3 halfbacks that they had with Henderson, Malcolm Brown, excuse me. I said Miles Brown. Malcolm Brown and Cam Akers was really impressive. Now, Malcolm Brown ended up emerging as the leading rusher in that game. He had 79 rushing yards for 2 touchdowns. So I think he is the clear front runner as of right now in terms of this halfback rotation for the Rams. Because when you're in a three-headed rotation like this, you got to roll with the hot hand. And the hot hand as of right now is Malcolm Brown. Now, I feel like Cam Akers isn't all too far from him, even though Cam Akers, I feel like he could have did a little bit better in his debut against the Dallas Cowboys, but he wasn't too bad. So, the difference between this Rams offense from last year and this year is the fact that they can run the football. And that kind of eased up the pressure on Jared Goff. And it opened up this LA Rams offense a lot that they were able to utilize play action. And in this game versus the Philadelphia Eagles, I still don't trust Philadelphia's secondary. Like, I still don't trust Philadelphia's secondary because I feel like their secondary hasn't been tested yet. And I know you guys may be saying, oh, JT, look what we did against Washington. Like, that's Washington. Washington doesn't have the talent that the Los Angeles Rams have to challenge this Philadelphia Eagles secondary. So if you're an Eagles fan, you're going to find out just how much improved your secondary is from last year to this year. And I mean, when you look at this Rams team, I think is really good. They looked really impressive. And you're looking at a Philadelphia Eagles team that so right now is kind of on the ropes. They're trying to find answers. Because they had that game against Washington under control. Like, they were blowing them out. I believe it was like 17-0 at one point. Like, I was watching the game, I was like, oh, man, I'm going to be wrong about Washington. Because I was really concerned because I've been hyping up Washington all this offseason saying, hey, the Washington football team is going to be better than what a lot of you guys think. They may not make it to the playoffs, but they're going to be Super Bowl competitive. And I see Philadelphia Eagles putting the beats on them early. I'm like, oh, God, they're finna get blowed out. And then Washington comes back. They have a pretty nice drive before the end of the half. And then they get a couple of turnovers on defense. And they were able to win the game. So, I mean, you look at Philadelphia. I feel like Philadelphia lost that game due to shooting themselves in the foot. And if Miles Sanders would have played in that game, the offensive line was fully healthy, then I think Philadelphia probably would have won that game. But that didn't happen. The offensive line still isn't healthy. And we still don't really know the status of Miles Sanders as of the time I'm recording this. So, I mean, you look at the Rams and you look at this defense, the defensive line was really good. Now, the secondary, I don't think the secondary played bad, but I don't think the secondary played great against Dallas. I felt they could have did a little bit more better. So, the team that I'm taking to win this game, I got to take the LA Rams to win this game. I think as of right now, I just think that Philadelphia is going to kind of start the season out slow, like what they did last year. Philadelphia really started 2019 out slow, and then they ended up closing out the season really strong. And I think that kind of is going to be the similar fate this season for the Philadelphia Eagles, because of right now, I think the Philadelphia Eagles are kind of out of sorts, okay? Like, I think it's going to take them a while to get back into the flow of the NFL. I don't really know what to expect from the defense, and the offense, quite frankly, I don't really have a lot of confidence in it right now. You got Carson Wentz and everything, but I mean, I still don't really know how I feel about the Eagles as of right now. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are still trying to find themselves. They're still trying to get their identity on the offense, and there's still a lot of moving parts, especially with that offensive line. That offensive line is going against a really good defensive line with the LA Rams. So, I mean, I got to take the LA Rams to win this game. I think the Rams win this game 27-24 is my final score prediction in this game. So, I mean, I think Philadelphia can win this game, but I just don't really have a lot of confidence in Philadelphia right now. It's just early on in the season, and the way that they lost against Washington, like, they just really shot themselves in the foot, and their offensive line really got exploited. Okay? Now, like I said earlier, I don't think that their offensive line is going to be completely terrible. I don't think it's going to be bad, but I don't think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be average because you're not going to be facing a lot of defensive lines built like Washington. Okay? But in this game, I just got to take the Rams to win this game because I just have a little bit more faith in the Rams than I do with the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, the Rams looked really impressive on both sides of the football last week and that win against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, although it was a controversial win against the Cowboys, it still is a W nonetheless. So, I mean, I got to take the Rams to win this game against the Philadelphia Eagles on the road in Philadelphia.